All right, welcome everyone. So we are now into our benchmark 3 and we'll be looking to now start brainstorming our logo. So hopefully you had a chance to look at the instructions or watch the video or went through it with another instructor, which is great. So depending on it, it's all here for you, yeah? So pretty straightforward. We've done tons of brainstorming now, yes, to flush out ideas and to get our overall mood board done, and then from there we went on to get some sketches done. And so in this benchmark, what we need to do is we're going to be sculpt, and you'll notice it's called working. So we will be now brainstorming with the sketches that we have, yeah, utilizing Illustrator in this one, okay, as mentioned in the previous videos within this weekly content. So what I'd like you to do is let's begin here. If you guys can all click, if everyone can just click on benchmark 3 template, that will then download that file for you, which is right here. It'll put it in your downloads folder, right? So that is the great place to start with. Yes, so we have a few things here. Sorry, I got a big old mess here. We have our portfolio class, right? We have our benchmarks. We are now on to our third benchmark, yeah? So I'm gonna go in on my desktop and I'm gonna call out benchmark, right? 3. Now this is, we have sketches, self-discovery. This is going to be logo brainstorm, right? So we have something like that. Fantastic. So this is where we want to put this first file here, okay? So I'm going to just drop that in from my downloads and it looks something like that. Okay, so you guys will note you may want to get organized, right? I have a few folders within each of these as per the last videos that we worked through, right? You may want to create a folder in here and call this supporting. Always good practice, right? That way what we can do is put in any supporting data or any images. We can put fonts and all that, right? You can have mood boards and so on, depending on what your assignment calls it, you know, what it needs or what it's called out for, right? And then we can maybe create a new folder in here and maybe we'll call this out as working, or maybe we'll even do finals. Okay, or final would be good. And that's where we have put our final PDF for upload, okay, which we'll get to at the end of this tutorial. So we're good. This is what we need to do. Yes, so pretty straightforward. We're going to be working in Illustrator today. So for anyone, right, if we haven't been in it in a little bit, awesome, no worries. We will get and dive right into it. I know probably Illustrator you touch on a little more than the rest of the program, which is great. So you should be very familiar with it. Okay, so that being said, are we ready to rock? This is what we need to do. Now, to make our lives easy, we can maybe keep this open to the left. You can actually bring this file into Illustrator and then work from it as a guide, but I'll just keep it open here to the left to help us out so that we can follow along and get something that looks like this for our final. Okay, and that's where we need to get to. So, beautiful thing, beautiful thing. So if we look at Illustrator, let's start there. You ready? Let's open it up. So maybe we haven't worked in it for a little bit. I know you guys, I don't think, had much of a break, so I would imagine we're getting right back into it. So it's all good. What we need to do here is we want to create new, yeah? So let's begin there. So creating new is just like, you know, anything else. You can do a command N also will start it up, right? You can go across the top here. You know, you have a bunch of different versions or available modes, right? We have our print, we have our saved and so on, film and art and so, yeah. So all these options are available to us. And we know that we have letter here. It's interesting that letter comes in point size though, through the print dialog, which yes, is interesting. But this is your print setting, okay? And I'm gonna go into letter. That being said, we don't need, what am I talking about? I'm sorry, I digress. I don't want letter, do I? I want 12 by 12 as per the instructions. So what I'm gonna do here, everyone, you'll notice you can change your document or your unit, right? So I need everything in inches is what we've been working in. Okay, let's go ahead and we can name this accordingly, right? We know that this is called out as benchmark 3, okay? So let's go ahead, call it benchmark 3, and then maybe we'll just add this in logo brainstorm for now, okay? That's great. And I'm gonna go here 12 So click, click, get into the width, hit 12. You can hit tab. You'll notice tab will then take you over to the inches. Tab again, 12, okay? Now, notice it will, depending on what document, it doesn't matter what like this will actually automatically adjust, whether it be landscape or portrait. We only need one artboard for this one. Let's, typically we like to put bleed on everything, so go ahead and put bleed on this. That's always a good thing to get in the habit of doing. Okay, CMY color is exactly where we want to be for our mode, always in Illustrator. It is vector art. We do not want to be in RGB color mode, okay? So please, 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 if that's an RGB, change that up. Raster effects at 300 ppi, as we know, that's points per inch, and that is exactly where we need to be for printed, for any effects that may be needing to be flattened. That being said, 300 is good. I'm hoping we'll stay away from any of these crazy effects regardless, because again, this is a vector program. We want to keep it simple, clean, and just beautiful, yeah? And since we're doing sketches with our name, right? Or maybe we created a cool type for our, you know, like I had there Mojo instead of, you know, Mitch Joseph Thompson, I have Mojo, yeah? So we're gonna look at some of this stuff. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna reset my workspace. Some of us may or may not know that these workspaces are here, which are fantastic, okay? And these workspaces, you maybe could go to Essentials Classic for me, which would be fantastic. The Essentials Classic is absolutely awesome. And this is exactly where I wanna be for my main workspace, okay? This is a beautiful thing. So that's Window, Workspace, and then just go to Essentials Classic. That'll get everyone on the same page, right? Which is fantastic. And that looks like so. So if you're missing anything above here, that's your control. Make sure your control is turned on, and it should be turned on when you turn on that workspace, but just make sure that you have this available to you. Okay, are we ready to rock? A few things I want to do. Layers, actually. I'm going to just break my layers. Notice we know by now that we can break off tabs within these programs, right? And this works in all programs in Adobe. So you can break a tab off and you can move it around, right? Which is great. And the layers are something I am going to break off because it's extremely important. It's at top, okay? We have brushes and symbols and colors and all this fun stuff. But you know what? This is really important for me because we're going to get organized. You'll notice as per the sample we need to duplicate, right? I do have layers called out, and it's important that we practice this because the layers are how we stay organized overall in all of these programs, not just in Illustrator, as you know, Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator. So the very first thing, we're going to call this out as info and details, okay? So we'll just get started with that one. So all I did there was with my layers. You can also go Window Layers and open up layers, okay? So there it is. I just clicked on the layer, click, click, get into the name, and you can change it. You can also do it by double clicking on the layer and going into the layer itself. Okay, now keep in mind, you want to stay to in this middle area when you double click, okay? And then that allows you to hide, right, your eyeball. We all know, we're aware of that. Our Command Y, if you want to try Command or Control Y, depending if you're Mac or PC, and that will go in from preview to outline, which is great, okay? So that's a big short key we're going to use quite a bit is our Command Y. Fantastic. So what we want to do to start with, let's try this. Go into the rectangle tool or your M, okay? You should see all of your tools here along the side. So we're going to click on that, and what I want to do is I'm just going to quickly create a rectangle, yeah, like so. So nice and easy. You'll notice things may not snap for you. Okay, and snapping is really important. So let me just delete that for a second. Snapping is right here with our smart guides, right? So I want you all to turn on smart guides. It's also Command or Control U, okay? I believe Control on a PC. So really important, another short key you want to get in the habit of using because we're going to turn this off and on constantly, right? Throughout whenever you're working on vector art, you want to have that either turned on or off. Turned on is awesome because check it out. Now with my rectangle tool, if I go to the top left corner, it's going to have intersect. See that? It's hard to see, I know, but check it out. Intersect. Okay. Let's draw a box. Nice. And then what you're going to find is it's going to snap, snap. And it's going to give you another intersect. And it's going to give you a box that looks like that. Okay. So you might be wondering, well, Mitch, why are we just drawing a box right now? Well, what we're going to do here is I'm just going to swap it so you can see. We've got a big box. Yeah, look at that. All right, so I'm going to create a guide for myself. Notice that I brought this, there's an actual box that looks like a guide, and it's done on purpose, and I put it there on purpose because that's one of the biggest things we need to get a handle on. Is our layout. We need to have guides for everything, right? Everything should be following a guide or a grid. So that being said, in order to do that really quickly, I'll show you a little tip here, which is really handy. I drew this box. We know that it's a 12 by 12, right? And we can see that here in our properties, 12 by 12, right? Which is great. What I'd like you now to do is go into Object, go into Path, and I'd like you to go to Offset Path. And you'll notice that's there. And this is used quite a bit. The offset path is great. It allows you to go larger or smaller from an overall object, no matter what it may be. You can do this offset path. It's a great trick to utilize. And you'll notice what happens here. If I do say 1, okay, that's based on inches, right? And I have my preview on and off. Notice what's happening is it's building that box 1 inch along the outside perimeter of the box, which is really cool. So if I hit OK, what we in essence have now are 2 boxes, one here, right, and then one there. Kind of neat, yeah? So a really neat way that we can go about if you're doing logo and you want to create an outer or an inner, and in this case, that's what I would like you to do. So you can delete that outer box or hit Command Z or Control Z, and we're going to go Path, and I would like you to try that again, Offset Path. Now, instead of 1 inch, what I'd like you to do is hit minus. And let's do, I've done this now, I find that 2 inches is too much, 1 inch is not enough, so I did a minus 1.5. So try that with me. I'm going to do a minus 1.5. What that's going to do is create a box. Ooh, that's not what I want. Sorry, I digress. Maybe do it 0.75. Minus 0.75, I apologize. Ah, there we go. That's better. So minus 0.75, so 3/4 of an inch, right? If we do it at 1, minus 1, have a look. And you know what? Shoot. I'm wondering if minus 1 is good. I think I'm a little bit, I think I'm at 0.75 for this one. Minus 1 will work, but yes, I think I would like minus 0.75. So just practice that, right? Illustrator's all about utilizing, inches and so on, and it's a mathematical program, right? So for anyone who's unaware that vector is all lines, points, and math, right? It's figuring out all this vector artwork. Whereas Photoshop, being raster, it's not so much math as it is, a picture, right? Dots that make up it. So it just kind of throw it out there. 0.75. Check this out. You can actually put if I do 1/3, see this? And I put an inch there, check it out. It will actually give me 1/3 of an inch. Because, this is kind of a neat little tip, actually. So if you go in and I go minus, and I want to do, say, 1/2 of an inch, you can actually go 1-2, right? And then put the inch symbol, and notice how it goes to 0.5. Kind of cool. And this works in all the Adobe programs. So if you've never noticed that or ever tried it, give it a try. I know that I want it to be 3/4 of an inch, but minus, of course. So 3/4 of an inch, tab. Neat. 0.75. Anyway, long story short, there we go. We've got a box, right? Okay, great. So we now have a box there to the inside. All right. What I'm going to do is get rid of this outer one. It's not necessary. Okay. What I'm now going to do is I want to turn this box into a guide overall, as you'll notice here. Okay, kind of neat. So what we can now do is if you right click, okay, on that box with it selected as per like so, make guides, and check it out right away. What you've done is you created a guide utilizing that object, and that works for anything, which is kind of neat. So if you ever need to create a guide of something, you can do it even with a star per se. Would you do this for anything? I don't know. If you're doing a package and you need to just have an area that things need to fall in line with, that's a nice way that it can be utilized. Okay, cool. So, sorry, we're here. We've got info and details, as you know, for our layer. And we've now got a guide around the outside. Now our guides you can turn on and off, as you may know, just with your guides, right? And if you go into guides, you have lock and hide, right? Unlock, hide, and then release, etc., etc. Clear if you want to get rid of them all. Okay, so that works just like it does for any other guide. So I can go in and I can unlock and I can hide them. Our short key for hide is Command or Control semicolon, right? So you can try that, Command Control semicolon, depending PC or Mac. Cool. All right, so let's get into it. What do we got to do? I need you to, first of all, we need some type, right? So let's go in. You can put my logo, whatever you want to title this. As mentioned in the last two, remember this is for your portfolio overall. So if I would like you to kind of follow this in general terms. If you want to change it up slightly, that's all good. Make it your own, right? So benchmark 3, right? Working / brainstorming. Awesome. Okay, you'll notice the font that I used, oops, spell it correctly would be good, right? You'll notice the last font that I actually used was Acumen, which I love. A new variable font in the Adobe workspace, which is amazing. Sorry, and then I have, let's do it to all of it, not just the one that I selected there. I did make it, let me just go back here, sorry. So if you hit Control or Command, we know that that will always bring up our black arrow. Give that a try. This is a huge short key, yes? As per InDesign, same thing. Short key spacebar, move around. Short key spacebar Command or spacebar Control. Zoom in and zoom out, depending if you have automated zoom on. Probably it defaulted so you can go zoom, zoom, zoom in, zoom out just by clicking and scrolling back and forth with your right? And that's your spacebar Command or spacebar Control. So keep that in mind. Now, what we're going to do here is I'm going to hold my Command button. That'll bring up my black arrow, and I'm going to select on my type. If you don't want to do that, you can, of course, go up to the black arrow and select on your type. Sorry, don't forget Type tool. Click. That'll lay your type down. Do not do this. Do not make a type box, okay? 95% of the time in Illustrator, we're probably going to just click and lay down a line of copy. What's the difference? You may already know the difference is huge. We have this. This allows us to, with my Command button held down, notice how I'm holding Command, that'll allow me to grab my 4 points and whoop, zoom in and out, right? If I go this way and I make a text box, now, if I go to rotate the text box, cool, but it's not allowing me to adjust the size of the font, is it? It's actually adjusting the size of the text box. So text boxes are needed and essential in InDesign, absolutely. You can't even do text in InDesign unless you have a text box. In Illustrator, a little different. I would like you to use your just free-form text because this allows you to now size, flip, and rotate the actual copy itself, which is what we want to do in Illustrator. See that? So a big difference between this and InDesign in that regard. So that being said, sorry, we want our type on, click, we're gonna lay some type in, all right, and I'm just gonna go here and lay that down like so. Awesome. So we're getting there. I'm gonna end this video and come back just so that we're not gonna over video. You know, an hour video is a little excessive, so doing it in some parts I think a little handy. So we'll come back, we'll then get some details put in here. We'll get our fonts done up and some colors done up, and then what we'll work on is seeing if we can't get those sketches brought in, and then we'll finish brainstorming this all up for us, okay? So stick with me and I'll be back soon.